Welcome back to the Cinema Clubhouse podcast. I am Travis.
And I'm Will.
And today, Will, something very exciting.
Tell me, Travis.
I'm going to tell you, Will.
Okay.
We're doing our Mount Rushmore of animated movies.
I love it, Travis.
It's good. It's like a list, but slightly different. Mount Rushmore is a little more than a list, I think.
Yeah, it's not just these are my 5 favorite, these are my 10 favorite.
That's right.
It's got to have some meaning behind it.
Right. Yeah. Some more thought behind it than just this one's really cool.
Right.
Like,
I mean, that can become a play too.
It can, but they don't just put really cool things on mountains. There's reasons for it.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, so today we're gonna go through and make our Mount Rushmore of animated movies.
Yeah.
There is no rules, Will. It's whatever we believe would be on that mountain.
Yeah, there's no one criteria here. I think we both kind of went different routes.
Yeah.
Kind of met in similar ways as well, but
Yes.
yeah, with every Mount Rushmore comes different rules, like you said.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see how this goes, and we'll have some explaining to do once we make our picks.
Yeah, as we always do.
Yeah.
All right, Will, why don't you kick us off for your first spot on the mountain?
All right, so this was probably the easiest pick. When it comes to Mount Rushmore, like we talked about before, there's a symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
In making mine, I kind of thought about what the actual presidents on the real life Mount Rushmore stand for.
Right.
And so had to kind of look that up to see, but essentially it's George Washington stands for the founding
Right.
of America, then Thomas Jefferson's the expansion.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln, the preservation, and then Teddy Roosevelt, development. So
yeah,
that's kind of what guided my decision making when making this. Again, it's not a one rule fits all kind of
That's
deal,
right.
But when looking at founding, there's really only one you can point to, and it was hard to wiggle away.
Yeah.
That's the original Snow White and the Seven
Correct.
Dwarfs.
That's also my first one.
Yeah.
As well. It was hard to ignore it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the movie itself, but it did launch a whole, I mean, who knows if that never got made, what animated movies, if they ever got to that point, or, it changed the game.
Yeah, it set the stage for everything else. Not that it was the very first animated period.
Right.
But it's
feature length.
Yeah, widely considered as, kind of the original. What is that, Will? I don't think you want me to explain.
It's a new flavor at Cold Stone.
Yeah, it's the original animated feature that most people think of, and yeah, like you said, it isn't my one of my favorites. Like, again, we talk about that's not what this is,
right?
But when you look at the foundations of animation, you can't skip over it.
Everything points back to there. So yeah, it's got to be up there. Yeah, I really tried to not have it on there, but I'm like, I can't. I just can't do it. It needs to be included.
And it influenced so many things. I mean, most of the movies in that era, you can point back to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, whether that be like Bambi or Cinderella.
Yeah.
A lot of the same animation style goes into that.
Yep.
A lot of the same sort of character, design and stuff like that. Like, they all kind of look like Snow White. So
yes.
Its influences.
Yeah.
Generational.
Yeah. Yeah. It can't be matched, really. It's, it's the first of its kind, really. And yeah, like you said, set the stage for what's to come. So yeah, for that reason, it had to be in there. That's also my first one. So we don't need to dwell anymore. Those are both our first spots. But now we're going to, I think, take different routes.
Yeah. I think we diverged from this point.
So my next spot, again, it's hard when you start talking about animated movies. You really, especially for something like this, it's not just my favorite or the one I love. It's like, how did it impact? What new thing did it bring, or what did it do? So for my second spot, I had to go with Toy Story.
Yeah.
Pixar really changed the game in style of animation, gave us that three-dimensional, new computer-generated animation where everybody was scared that, the computer's going to take over my job. It's like, well, someone still has to
Well,
do the work on the computer. We're all in the same boat.
Jury's still out on that one, but
yeah. Hey, I would prefer hand drawn sometimes over the CG, but Toy Story really invented a new style of animation that everybody eventually started to copy.
Yeah.
And try to mimic that. It was way more realistic, and it was just like, wow, like, taking 2D to 3D was a huge step.
Yeah.
And a daunting task, and and Toy Story is a great movie. I love Toy Story.
And I think that's the key too.
Right.
To be Mount Rushmore worthy, it is about timing, but it's, also about quality.
Right.
Toy Story's impact is everlasting.
Yeah.
Even to this day, there's been 4 of them.
Yeah.
I don't even know how many Pixar movies to this point, but
right.
If Toy Story was a flop, we might not have Pixar.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, if your first movie does horrible, I mean, the likelihood of you getting a green light for the next one is probably not going to happen. But no, it spawned a whole, generation, and that wave of, Pixar animated movies, and then, then from that it spawned DreamWorks, and we got all those. So it's just like it was very influential and very outside of the box, and like, let's take a swing at this new thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were too scared to do it. They're like, we'll do it.
Yeah. No, it was one definitely consideration for me too, for the same reasons. Yeah, it was. I don't think it was the first. It was the first of that kind of CGI animation.
Yeah.
So yeah, can't argue with that one.
Yeah.
A rightful place. In your Mount Rushmore.
So what's your next spot, Will?
So kind of following along, and the symbolism, like I said, the next one I want to go to is expansion. So can be interpreted a number of different ways, whether that be, expansion of the medium itself, like culturally expanding. I kind of went with the former. It's a mix of both, but my next one on the list is The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
That's great. Expansion in the way that it sort of expanded, like, tonally what animated films could be. Like, it's, up to that point, for the most part, with few exceptions, animated films were meant to be family films, geared towards children. And that's not to say that The Nightmare Before Christmas is not. It's just, it has a wider appeal.
It's a broader approach to it.
It's got that darker tone to it.
It's creepy. It's creepy. It's kind of scary for some kids. My kids were scared of it when they first saw it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is kind of scared. But it opened the door for something new you could do, and something like a new thing we hadn't seen before.
Yeah. It appealed to kids. It appealed to adults. It appealed to weirdos.
Yeah, exactly. And it's still wildly popular.
Hot Topic shoppers.
Yeah. The Hot Topicers.
The Hot Topicers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tonally that way, expanded the audience as well. And just the animation style as well. Like, obviously, it wasn't the very first stop motion animation we've seen, but I would say it popularized it. It kind of spawned, to that point, stop motion was few and far between. And not to say it's like
it blew
everywhere now, but it gave birth to Leica Studios, and without that you don't get Fox Trolls, and Kubo and the Two Strings.
No, it really and I don't know if it was like wildly successful immediately, but it definitely got its following, and now it's it's everywhere. Like, I think every group of people, there's somebody who is like, oh, that's my favorite animated movie.
And it's tough to be both a Halloween and a Christmas staple.
That's right. You got both of them, which is crazy.
So it has influence even beyond.
So you can watch it twice a year and it makes sense.
Yeah. Go into my local Hot Topic, buy a Jack Skellington merch.
Yeah. That's a good one. That was definitely in consideration for me.
Yeah.
I think I went with Toy Story over that one for that particular expansion portion, just because I feel like it launched more more things to follow it than Nightmare did, so that's why. But yeah, it was close and definitely deserves to be up there.
Yeah,
Disney, man, it's owning this list as we speak.
I guess it is Disney, isn't it?
What?
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider that.
Yeah.
It might be a common theme among this. But,
it might be.
It's the world we're.
That's a good one. My next one, staying on the Disney train. I'm sorry, Will. I'm sorry. This one was it's not that this movie itself did anything crazy, but I think it was just impactful to a certain group of people, and it needs to be up there. I'm going with Lion King. I think. I mean, it's pretty good. It's all right.
Talk about the all-time underselling of.
Yeah, I was trying to make it be more less exciting than it is, but hey, no, I think Lion King really spawned, that late '90s run of Disney movies. It really gave them the momentum, because I feel like for a while they were kind of ebbs and flows, and then the Renaissance area just took it, and that was one of the main four in that era. And I feel like that's the one that is the most popular, probably.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that one. I mean, I watched that movie like 100 times. We had to buy a new VHS. I burned it out because I'd just.
What's a VHS, Travis?
Well, that's another episode. It's these weird black things that you'd put in, and they were never in the right spot, and you always had to wait for it to get to the right spot till you get started.
Interesting. Well, that's an interesting description too. We'll go ahead and move on.
Hey, we got to get off this. I wasn't prepared for this. But no, Lion King needs to be up there. I don't know if you have the wave of animated movies in the late '90s if we don't have that.
Yeah.
So that's the third one on my mountain.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, of the Renaissance four, that's definitely the most popular, I think. Even to this day, even the remake of it's the live action remake,
the harder animated version.
Yeah, still I think is the most successful of all those that have come out. Like it's the most popular for a reason. I mean, it's great.
Yeah,
like the voice acting is great, the music.
Yeah, it hits at every level.
Yeah, it was kind of, I think, the crowning achievement of that like era.
Mm-hmm. And they put their B team animators on. Yes, they didn't think it was going to do it.
Yeah, what are they doing?
They don't know anything.
Movie about a bunch of lions and like
whatever. Put Gary on it. He's got it.
Well, Gary,
good job, Gary.
You've done good. But yeah, I think that's a great pick. Again, can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Similarly, my third pick. Actually, I'm going to say that.
Okay.
I'm gonna go a different way. I'm gonna get us off Disney for a minute.
Okay.
And then we might spin back around.
Okay.
But kind of going along the symbolism, my next one's gonna be preservation.
Okay.
For this one, I went the route of I went some Studio Ghibli. I never know how to say that thing. Ghibli.
Yeah.
But I went with Spirited Away.
Nice.
I think I wanted to have a little bit of balance in terms of the animation styles on my Mount Rushmore, and so I think you got to have an anime on there.
Yeah,
and this one arguably is the most popular, like kind of like the Lion King.
Yeah,
preservation in the sense that it came out during a time when CGI was just going crazy.
Yeah,
DreamWorks was in play.
Mm-hmm.
They were making 1 million CGI movies a year.
Right.
And Spirited Away kind of preserves that hand-drawn animation style. Also, it's just the tonal style of it too. Like, there's definitely something about it that's different than your like Disney animated. Like,
right. It feels different.
Yeah, it feels different. It takes its time. It's not as like fast-paced.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's beautiful movie. I think it might have been, I don't know if it won Best Animated Feature, but I think it was nominated for it. But again, one of the most popular of that genre for sure. But it's again, just the preservation of that hand-drawn animation is why it has that spot on the list.
That's a good.
It could have gone to like a couple others I was thinking of, but I figured just again, back to like timing. It came out during a time when hand-drawn was kind of going by the wayside a little bit, but it kind of maintained for a while.
No, that's good. And preserving that, what we used to have in a time when everybody's trying to do the coolest, newest thing.
Yeah.
Which I kind of got burnt out on the whole CG style of animation. Yeah. It was cool at first, but now that's just like all we get. And it's like, I miss there's just something comforting about hand drawn. I don't know.
And an artistry that comes through, like CGI. There's been a ton of great CGI movies. Mm-hmm. There's nothing knocking it, but and there's plenty of talented people that work on those movies too.
Right.
So not to knock any of their work, right? But like seeing the hand drawn style come through, there's something about
it's like each animator kind of puts their personality and their touch on each character that they work on.
Yeah,
and I feel like it loses that in the CGI, like because it's just like a tool. Someone has to create it, but there's just something I miss about it. I know this would be highly not worth it, and they'd lose so much money, but I wish you had the option to watch a hand-drawn version of a CGI movie.
That would be kind of
like
cool.
Because I would love to see Tangled, Frozen, some of these newer Disney ones in that style. Now, I know that would make financially no sense. Maybe. But I would pay for that because I feel like, I think it's nostalgia. Like, that's just the animation I grew up with, so that's why I want to see it.
What is the last hand-drawn animation
Disney? The last Disney one was The Princess and the Frog in 2008.
Is it that long ago?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Because in 2010 was Tangled, and that was the first Disney non-Pixar that did the Pixar style. Which it was easy to tell them apart, which was Pixar and Disney, and then they did that, and you're like, I don't know anymore. I just don't know. But that we need to preserve that. I love hand drawn animation.
Yeah,
it's something that I don't think will ever fully go away, but I would love more of it. And I know it's financially doesn't make any sense these days.
Yeah,
but to me it does.
Yeah. For sure.
And we know that's all that matters.
Right.
That's what I want.
That's why we're not making the decisions. But that's why it belongs on my Mount Rushmore, just preserving that kind of animation, just the uniqueness, the imagination.
Yep. That's good. All right. 4 slots is not very many. When you're trying to narrow it down, you're like, all right, I'll do this one, this one, this one. You're like,
it's one less than 5.
It's one less than 5, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So this was tough. It was tough to, who's that final spot? And I really tried to go back in the filmography and really think, all right, what movie maybe hit me in a way that no other animated movie did, or did something so different that I was like, this is crazy. And for that, mine's a little newer pick, but I went Into the Spider-Verse.
Great pick.
It mixed like every style of animation I've ever seen into one, like, it's like they hired 50 different people to work on, like, you work on this scene, we'll put it all together. That's how it kind of felt.
Yeah.
But visually it's stunning. Yeah. It just is a stunning, and how they captured the comic book like-ness of it, along with, like I said, it feels like every genre of animation woven together in something that makes sense. Yeah. And it makes sense for the story as well. So it's like, it's, it all fits, and it really blew me away when I saw it. I really didn't, not that I have no expectations for it. I was just like, oh, I'll go see it. A Spider-Man animated movie. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be anything, but I mean, it's one of the best Spider-Man movies.
Oh, for sure.
If not, I mean, arguably the best.
Yeah.
And that, to me, in a superhero heavy live action, that's what people want. You do an animated movie then, and then it can still compete, is crazy. And it really, just like, I feel like developed a whole new style of animation, and it's just visually stunning, and I love it. I love rewatching it. It's so cool. All the little tricks they do, it's crazy.
Yeah, you get something new out every time. I like you had no expectations for it.
Yeah.
I didn't even necessarily think like, oh, this looks like garbage.
Yeah.
It wasn't an afterthought.
Yep.
Until people started talking about it, I was like, okay, I guess I'll check it out.
Yeah.
And like if this was a favorites list, it would probably make my favorites list.
But I just don't think I've ever felt the way I felt in that movie, in an animated movie.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was watching a live action movie. And so for that, I'm like, man, I can't shake that. I feel like animated had not, like, I kind of forgot.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of times you're like, well, it's a cartoon. Of course that's going to happen. But I never like had that moment with it. It was more just like, I'm invested into the story immediately, and I forgot it was a cartoon.
Yeah, and like you said before, it, there's the shock value of like all the different animations that are part of it, which it could have just been that,
right?
But the fact that it like ties into the story, like there's a reason for having that chaotic animation,
right?
Styles,
that makes it even better.
Yeah, it makes it even better.
Like, it was a story element, not just a let's try something new. Like, it made sense, which I think that's why I like it even more. Cause it's like they put so much thought into this.
I mean, it's a love letter to all animation styles.
Yeah.
Like you said, you got everything in there, and yeah, it's a great pick. It's a great pick for kind of that development. Symbol. And for that reason, I actually almost went with that one.
Yeah.
I went a different direction for mine.
Okay.
Started to tease it a little bit earlier and pulled us back.
Yeah.
I, like you, felt like I needed some representation from the Renaissance for.
Yeah.
And so my pick from that was Beauty and the Beast for development.
Excellent.
Development for a number of reasons. Wasn't the first animation to use CGI, but it was kind of one of the early ones to do it. The ballroom scene, like, used a combination of CGI and hand drawn. So that really pushed the needle forward a lot there. Onward into Aladdin, into Lion King. Pixar came out and blew the doors open. But Beauty and the Beast was one of the first ones there. And then there's it was the first animated movie ever to be nominated for Best Picture. Yeah. And this was when there were still just 5 nominations. So it struck a chord with a lot of people. It was basically like a Broadway musical in an animated. Yeah,
it was, and it really played that way. Like, when you watched it, it really, and I think they never thought an animated movie could be nominated. Like, I don't think it was even a thought. And then when that came out, like, it is a good story. Like, it's a really good, and it's really well done.
Well, what's funny about that is I might have my information slightly off, but from what I recall reading, it was like one of, if not the first animated features to go into it with a completed like screenplay. I don't know, like, I guess others were kind of pieced together a bit more before then, but you felt that come across on the screen. Like, it felt fuller than a lot of others.
It felt, it never felt like they knew where they were going when they started it.
Yeah.
And if, you can tell when a movie doesn't, or something doesn't, that one definitely had all the ducks in a row and knew what it was doing.
Yeah. But that's a
good one.
It gave it that, legitimacy to the larger, like, audience and critics. Gave legitimacy more to just animation as a medium.
Yeah, I mean, it started after that, they're like, all right, animation needs its own category because we're not going to let that take up a spot for Best Picture.
I mean, they ruminated on a little bit after that. But.
Yeah, it took a while. Well, just like anytime they're like, there's going to be this coming up, but it's in 5 years. Like, okay. why not next year?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think it really opened people's eyes to like animation can be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like it's not just a kids thing. And I think a lot of these movies on our list, like they were more than just a kids entertainment.
Yeah.
And what they achieved was a bigger accomplishment than what it seemed. Because like with Spider-Verse, right, we both had it went over our heads, like no expectations. One, because it was animated, I was like, I don't like
a little bit of that.
I mean, a lot of it was for me. I was like, I don't know how, like, usually an animated movie of a superhero is, you know, what you expect. Not like a movie.
They played down to their target audience instead of.
Yeah. But so people look at animation, they overlook it because, oh, that's just a kid's thing. And I was like, I don't think it ever was just a kid's thing. I think they obviously knew that as their like target audience. But the thing about Disney, especially Pixar, is they lean into the parents, they lean into everybody else within that story. So everybody gets something out of it. And Beauty and the Beast felt like the first Disney movie that didn't seem just like kid focused on
like they're stupid.
Right.
They expect more out of the audience, and those are what the best animated ones do.
Yeah. And so they needed to be on the list. Yeah. And I think our Mount Rushmores are good, a good representation of the animation genre. Obviously there's probably some that could have made it.
Were there any others that just missed that we didn't talk about for you?
Mine would have been just choosing the Renaissance Disney movie.
Yeah.
Is kind of like, which one do you want to lean in? Because I feel like they all did similar things, like starting kind of with Beauty and the Beast, and it woven into all of them. But I think Lion King and Beauty and the Beast did it the best. Out of those two, Aladdin, I prefer more.
Aladdin is my favorite.
Yeah.
But I can't justifiably put it on my Mount Rushmore just because.
Right. And again, how we're doing Mount Rushmore might be different than how you're going to be doing it, but it's not our four favorites. It's, you know, there's more to it to unpack.
Yeah, I think all of ours are like some sort of sea change to the genre in some way. Yeah. And that's kind of how I approached it.
Yeah. No, that's good. I feel like we have good Mount Rushmores.
Yeah.
I'm really pleased with them.
I can't wait to see them.
I can't wait to see them right here. Right here. If I get to that point, Will. Well, it'll be something.
You know what? Just use your imagination, guys.
Just picture it. Thank you so much.
There you have it, guys. Those are our two Mount Rushmores. What do you think of them? Did we get it right? Anything that you would change in yours? Would you approach it differently than we approached ours? Would it just be your favorites? Let us know what your Mount Rushmores are down in the comments. While you're down there, why don't you go ahead and leave us a like, subscribe to the channel, leave us more comments, and get the conversation going. But until next time, this is Cinema Clubhouse podcast.